Hello, thanks for joining us today to learn about a petition for new rules for concentrated animal feeding operations. My name is Mike Schmidt, and I'm the staff attorney for the Iowa Environmental Council. I'll start by introducing IEC, provide background on feedlots in Iowa, give context for the rulemaking process, and discuss the changes proposed in the petition. I'll close by talking about what you can do to help. IEC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are nonpartisan and non-governmental. We advocate for science-based law and policy to protect our water, land, and climate. The Iowa Environmental Council educates, advocates, and builds coalitions to raise awareness, generate action, and impact policy to make Iowa a better place to live, work, and explore. We have 90 member organizations, hundreds of individual members, and thousands of supporters across Iowa. A little background as we get started. A CAFO is a concentrated animal feeding operation, which typically means at least 300 animal units. An animal unit is one beef cow or its manure equivalent, 2.5 pigs or 125 chickens. Iowa has seen huge growth in the number of CAFOs in the state. We have thousands of large CAFOs, which have at least 1,000 animal units, 1,000 beef cows, 2,500 hogs, or 125,000 chickens. And thousands more feeding operations are just below that threshold. They have expanded across the state, and this growth raises some questions. How much manure did they produce, and what happens to it? Iowa's real population from a manure standpoint is enormous. The livestock and people in Iowa produce as much waste as 168 million people. Imagine the sewage being produced in Chicago, Tokyo, Paris, and Los Angeles, all being in central Iowa. There's an important difference from this idea, though, because we have more treatment requirements for human waste. Manure is usually applied to the ground without treatment. The result of our growing waste stream is pollution. The untreated manure leads to higher concentrations of nitrate, which moves with water. The red line on this chart is Iowa's total nitrogen load out of the state. The blue line is what flows out through the Mississippi River, and the green is what flows to the Missouri River, which ultimately goes to the Mississippi. As a result of this nitrogen load, Iowa is the leading contributor of nitrogen to the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. More locally, the majority of surface waters tested do not meet water quality standards adopted by Iowa DNR. But the pollution doesn't just enter surface water, it enters groundwater. Out of 55,000 private wells in Iowa that were tested, 40% had fecal bacteria. 12% exceeded the maximum contaminant level for nitrate set by EPA for public water supplies. But the EPA doesn't regulate private wells. People are on their own. For Iowans, this contamination has consequences. In terms of health, some of the nitrate problems listed here, like cancer, were identified through analysis of Iowa data. These consequences are happening, not just hypothetical. Microcystin is a toxin produced by algae that makes people sick even through recreational exposure. It is becoming increasingly common in the Des Moines River, which makes it hard to use for drinking water. There are financial costs to keep people safe. We have small towns and private wells that need to add treatment but can't afford it. IEC saw all this and concluded we need to act. One of our options is to pursue new rules to regulate feedlots. Rules are how agencies implement the laws passed by the legislature. Rules have the force and effect of law. The process of adopting rules is controlled by the Administrative Procedure Act. In Iowa, the Environmental Protection Commission adopts rules implemented by DNR. They ask the public for input and then adopt rules that apply to the public in the future. The Administrative Procedure Act allows anyone to petition for new rules that are legally binding. The petition we filed requests new regulations on feedlots. We often think of agriculture the way it used to be, not as it is today. Animals aren't frolicking in fields anymore. Today, nearly all livestock in Iowa is in large feedlots. The legislature reached a sort of compromise 2 decades ago to create a master matrix. The matrix is a scoring system to approve new confinements, feedlots completely covered by a roof. If you score high enough, you are approved, even if there is local objection or a risk to drinking water or environmental harm. If the roof doesn't cover the whole feedlot, you don't go through the master matrix at all and may not need any permit. There's been a growing push to put a moratorium on new feedlots because we don't adequately protect against their harms, but that has fallen on deaf ears at the legislature. Rulemaking is an action that the Environmental Protection Commission could take right now to protect Iowans without waiting for the legislature. IEC's rulemaking petition is straightforward and addresses two issues. First, we need to protect karst terrain. Iowa has bedrock near the surface that has partly dissolved over time. This leads to sinkholes, underground streams, and caves. Separating manure from that porous bedrock means pollution is less likely to enter the bedrock, where it gets into groundwater and surface water. Rules today do not require enough separation, increasing the risk of pollution. Recent analysis of water in Northeast Iowa found bacteria linked to cows and streams after rainfall. What we do on the land determines what is in our water, especially in karst terrain. The second issue is that we need to do more to protect our drinking water. The petition proposes to require groundwater monitoring around more CAFOs. That way, we know if there's a problem. This is something Wisconsin already does. We also need to be sure the DNR considers the environmental impact and unique conditions before approving a facility. DNR could do this now, but as we found out with the recent approval of Supreme Beef, it doesn't. These changes are necessary to address some of the most egregious cases we've seen. With our current regulations, conditions are worsening. These proposed changes would prevent the highest risk actions. Now you're watching this, just like people in this photo, and wondering, what can I do? First, you can write to the Environmental Protection Commission. Look for an action alert from IEC soon. You can also attend the EPC meeting when it considers the petition, and you can speak during the public comment session. You can sign up for IEC's emails to find out when the petition will go before the EPC, and you can support IEC and our partners as we pursue more action on this. Thanks for joining us today. I look forward to working with you to protect Iowa's waters.